Preface: Saqoot-e-Dhaka, Fall of Dhaka, and Dismemberment of Pakistan were some of the terms I grew up associating the birth of Bangladesh with. In the collective imagination, 1971 represents a loss, the breakup of a nation, the second partition of the Indian subcontinent. My work on 1947 took me to several Pakistani and Indian homes over the years. As I tried to explore the intergenerational memory of partition and the ways in which 1947 was remembered and interpreted today, it soon became evident that there was no one homogeneous understanding. While Pakistan saw 1947 as a triumph, marking the birth of a new nation, in India, the memory of partition evoked a sense of loss, of the breakup of the motherland. These are some of the themes that I will delve into during the course of this book. Here, I will just say that as I grappled with this narrative of triumph on one hand and loss on the other, it made me think more and more about the discourse, albeit limited, on Bangladesh in Pakistan. While Pakistan saw 1971 through the lens of loss, similar to how India saw 1947, for Bangladesh, 1971 marked bloodshed, but also the birth of a new nation, a triumph, a victory. Whereas Pakistan referred to the fateful year as the Fall of Dhaka, or Dismemberment, in Bangladesh, 1971 was hailed as the year of the Liberation War. In Pakistan, I was taught that Bangladesh was a product of the Third Indo-Pak War. It was another bilateral conflict between the two historic enemies. East Pakistanis were pushed to the periphery in this discourse. In Bangladesh, meanwhile, it was the people of erstwhile East Pakistan who were seen at the fore of the historic nation-making struggle. I later identified an active resistance to the bilateral Indo-Pak narrative. But apart from these initial thoughts, I quickly realized that I did not know much about Bangladesh, or for that matter, 1971. While India was portrayed as the perpetual enemy in Pakistan, Bollywood offered glimpses into the culture and people across the border, making them seem almost familiar. Some people-to-people initiatives by activists and non-governmental organizations, NGOs, promoting peace between India and Pakistan also gave access to the other, but only to a small and fortunate segment of the population. Bangladesh, in comparison, felt unknown, far off, disconnected. I knew nothing about the people with whom Pakistan shared 24 years of history. I knew nothing about how they remembered the war and how it differed from how Pakistan remembered and in many ways tried to forget 1971. I knew nothing about young Bangladeshis and the sentiments they held towards Pakistan. I realized that I also knew very little about how ordinary Pakistanis felt about what had happened in 1971. While every December there are a few TV shows to commemorate Saqoot-e-Dhaka, and there are some excellent novels and books that offer a more nuanced perspective on the birth of Bangladesh, in the public discourse, the discussion on 1971 remains limited, selective, and in many ways, censored. Textbooks deal with the subject in a cursory fashion, wrapping up the 9-month-long bloody war and the struggle for emancipation within a few pages. Teachers don't seem to want to delve into the topic, and unlike Partition, 1971 rarely comes up in family discussions. Losing the war was seen as a humiliating defeat, one which was best circumvented if not dismissed altogether. This book then began as a personal quest to understand my own history. In some ways, this builds on my previous research, which also used the oral history method to explore conflict in South Asia, first through the lens of partition and later Kashmir. Studying 1971 felt significant because not only was it a critical moment in South Asian history, leading to the creation of a new country, but also because I found 1971 to have left lasting imprints on the psyche of the three children of partition. Pakistan, Bangladesh, and India all have a narrative of 1971. The loss and victory is internalized, and 1971 continues to be a site on which internal politics and external relations are contested. The year, for instance, marked a shift in the India-Pakistan relationship, leaving both countries viewing themselves and each other in a different light. While India felt more confident in its military capacity and felt the balance of power tilt in its favor, impacting not only its regional strategies but also its internal dynamics, in some ways setting the ground for the emergency of 1975, Pakistan hastily resolved to rebuild a war-torn nation by revising the educational curriculum with an anti-Hindu and anti-India slant, investing more in its military capacity and vowing to seek revenge, using the same tactics in Kashmir as India had used in East Pakistan.